Apex Legends launched with every pub stomper's wet dream, Wraith. The story and lore of Wraith is convoluted, so we're going to follow the multiverse timeline as best we can with timestamps in the description, so
try not to blink. You may miss me.
32 years before she became an insta-lock for sweats in the Apex games, Renee Hope Blazy was born in 2701 on the planet Typhon. You know, that same place in Titanfall 2 where we kind of destroyed the moon and the planet. Before its destruction, Typhon was a key base of operations for the IMC's Ares division. This military and science splinter group focused on the scientific advancement of technology by any means necessary. Think Area 51 with the military and scientists, but instead of baking in the desert herding a bunch of Naruto runners, you're on another world, developing planet-destroying alien technology that folds space and time, and there's just one Naruto runner.
They might be watching.
Our Wraith is actually from a different dimension, where Typhon was never destroyed and the IMC won the frontier war against the militia. While serving as a senior science pilot, Blazy, for the Ares division, she worked with a guy named Amir Singh on something called Project Wraith. The objective was to test out new phase shift technology for the IMC and potentially discover alternate dimensions through interdimensional travel. With phase shift technology being mostly successful, they agreed to shift their focus to experimental testing on humans for that interdimensional travel. But nobody would willingly be tested on, and for good reason, so Blazy offered herself because she'd do anything to find the truth about alternate dimensions. Dr. Singh was a little sus about the multiverse, so when one of the experiments catastrophically failed, resulting in Blazy's memory getting squad wiped, he took advantage of the situation and continued experimenting on her as the unwilling, unaware subject 61137. According to a data log in the IMC's Special Projects database, subject 61137 had become aggressive and extremely confused after the accident. However, they had been successful in prolonging the subject's exposure to the phase void, which resulted in unforeseen side effects that appeared to be dangerous and permanent. Tragically, interdimensional travel was never discovered, so the decision was made to transport Blazy to Sign Labs on planet Solus in the Outlands for termination. Although this was the truth of that timeline, it was not the truth of our own. In our dimension, the IMC was in its final days of losing the frontier war against the militia, but they had succeeded in developing interdimensional phase technology after researching the time dilations that had occurred on Typhon because of BT and pilot Jack Cooper. To prevent the technology from falling into the hands of the militia, the IMC presumably killed Dr. Singh and was searching for Blazy as they attempted to destroy all data by burning down the lab. Before they could, our timeline's Blazy, the one known as Voidwalker Wraith, used a hack developed by Crypto to enter the system. Minutes later, the IMC infiltrated the room, lighting it on fire, and with no other options, Voidwalker Wraith used her tech to open an interdimensional portal, and after entering into the void, was able to see the parallel realities of herself. As she fled the facility, she noticed a version of herself that was unlike the others. This one was still in the lab, and Dr. Singh was still alive, trying to restrain her. Voidwalker Wraith tried telling her from the void to defend herself, but she was unable to, so with energy running low, she decided to exit the void to save, well, herself. She then teaches Blazy to listen to the voices from the void, which she actually hears all the time, never responds to, and eventually learns to tune out, but anyway, she gets her kunai, which later helps her knock creeping Dr. Singh. But wait, then who's this Dr. Singh that just strolled in? Voidwalker Wraith realizes it's the Dr. Singh from a reality she thought was dead, but must have followed her through the void, so she full sends in for the kill, but she gets knocked and then saved by Blazy. After securing some cover, Voidwalker Wraith slides her interdimensional portal pad over to Blazy, telling her to escape because they're not there for her. So Blazy wastes no time and dips into the void, leaving behind Voidwalker Wraith and not one, but two Dr. Singhs. From the void, she emerges into her new reality, our reality, just 6 years before the start of the Apex games. She explores Kings Canyon, noting that it's some kind of uninhabited island, not a peninsula like it was back in her dimension, but on her 5th day, she hears an older man calling out for a girl named Natalie. Because of her memory loss, Wraith thinks that the man may be looking for her and that her name is Natalie, but she keeps her distance by spectating and being a rat in the woods. The man seems to be some kind of electrician, working with charged pylons, radiation, and lasers. She eventually sneaks into his home while he's out and about, where she tries on a wedding ring that actually fits her finger. And in one of the notebooks, she finds that the man's name is Luc Paquette, and there's mention of Natalie. So of course, she's like, wow, the ring fits my finger, I must be Luc's wife, Natalie. Until a day or so later, when Wraith comes across a young girl and overhears her talking about how she was going to use light waves from a nearby device to create a dome around the island, killing every living thing. Wraith thinks this little assassin is after her husband, so she attacks the girl and beats her to within inches of death for trying to kill the love of her life. But the girl manages to activate the device, which malfunctions and starts the forest on fire. The smoke from the fire knocks the girl unconscious, so Wraith portals with her back to Luc's home for their first meeting ever, claiming she is Natalie and that she didn't abandon him, but was stuck in another dimension, held captive by a mad scientist, and that she had saved him by knocking out this child assassin that was going to evaporate him with her heat ray. Terrified and confused, Luke swoops in, grabs his daughter, explains Natalie is the girl's name, and that he had never seen Wraith in his life. Absolutely humiliated, Wraith portals out back to Sing Labs without a word, but is found a couple hours later by Luke. Ironically, he believes Wraith had saved Natalie from the forest fire and offers his gratitude to this unknown person that Natalie believes to be some kind of ghostly apparition, or Wraith like in her storybooks. This is partly where Wraith gets her name from, along with, well, her being part of Project Wraith. Luke then offers her safe passage off the island for her good deed in a boat to Solace City. Wraith spends the next several years training and entering into placement matches for the Apex games, and eventually she's accepted as a legend. It wouldn't be until the second season of the games that Wraith would have a chance to return to Sing Labs due to the destruction of the Repulsor Tower. She learns about the purpose of the Ares Division's experiments on her and rediscovers her real name. In Season 5, Lobo was secretly working with Hammond Robotics to rebuild Ash in exchange for Revenant's source code. The problem was that 9 pieces of Ash were scattered across Kings Canyon in the Shadowfall dimension. So, Loba asked all the legends, but Revenant, to help her retrieve them. Wraith was unwillingly chosen, but really their only choice as the group's way into and out of Shadowfall via her portal. So all the legends portal on into the Shadow Realm, and Wraith stays back to monitor the situation and Octane's date with one of the Hammond Robotics employees that they think is working with Loba. Wattson gets injured while Octane is on his date, so Wraith portals everyone back to Mirage's bar to assess what is going on. Secretly, Revenant creeps in unannounced like a spider on the ceiling, tells them they have a mole in their group, and somehow manages to hack into Crypto's unhackable drone, which is named Hack, by the way, confusing I know, but he spooks Wattson with it, which scares her so much that Wraith walks her home, and it turns out Caustic was the mole that hacked the drone for the absurd reasoning of wanting to protect her mind of pure natural genius from distraction. Caustic, say psych, please. During the next season, Rampart's workshop gets attacked, so Wraith offers to help relocate it from the planet Gaia, well, World's Edge, to the planet Solace in the back room of Mirage's bar, the Paradise Lounge. Mirage doesn't really want the company, but he does kind of need the rent money if he wants another party boat, so he agrees to Rampart joining, but only on the condition that she makes him anything he wants free of charge. Wraith asks Mirage to pack his gear into a Syndicate transport rocket for a few Apex matches, but Mirage was still a little unsure about Rampart moving in with him, so instead, he accidentally packed up Rampart's things, and she wasn't too happy. Mirage doesn't want to spoil his image of never letting a woman down before, well, other than his mom once, which he made up for by giving her a bouquet of flowers, so he persuades Wraith into helping him find some. While browsing the store, Mirage is talking to himself, as he often does, but Wraith overhears him call her a brain wreck, which doesn't make her feel too good after offering to help him. So with Mirage now letting down Rampart and Wraith, he comes up with a plan to make it up to both of them. Because his mom had previously worked with the IMC on holographic tech, he gives her a call to see what they can dig up about Wraith. After going through piles of his old mom's files, he finds Wraith's employee personnel file, which includes her date of birth, and after gifting the file, makes Wraith happy because now she can celebrate her birthday on a calendar tile. And to make up with Rampart, he gives her a bouquet of wrenches. Knowing that Wraith was a senior science pilot, the legends once again enlist her help in Season 9 when the Medusa vines spread across Olympus after the arrival of the Icarus ship. The vines cause some kind of infection that starts with bloody eyes and kills within 3 days, so when Bangalore gets infected, it's kind of important for them to find a cure. The ship was believed to have been from Wraith's home planet of Typhon, but being that Wraith knew it wasn't IMC or Ares division, and Horizon mentioned the serial numbers have been scratched off, it was a little fishy. After doing some quick maths, Wraith realizes the infection is due to spores and toxic gas from giant spiders. So the crew heads off to capture some to make an antitoxin. While they're away, Bangalore tries to leave to help, but Wraith pulls her back and the two get into a bit of a scuffle. Bangalore blames Wraith for losing her brother Jackson because after Crypto helped her find proof that Jackson had survived the Battle of Gridiron from a video recording on this little flash drive that you might remember from earlier, apparently Voidwalker Wraith swiped that. Wraith tries to explain that person wasn't her, but that she can still help find Bangalore's family, so they agree to be partners, but not in the same way as Loba. And by season 11 or 12 of the games, Wraith delivers on her promise. Through a contact of hers in Solace City, she finds records of a body matching Jackson's age,
Height, weight, even blood type. And it had his dog tags. I should have found the records sooner, but Solace morgues are, well, morgues on Solace. No regulations, no protocols. And he was found more than 5 years ago, but was just filed as unclaimed.
I need to see him.
Anita, unclaimed bodies on Solace, they bury after 2 weeks. I'm sorry, but they lost the records of where in a fire 3 years ago.
What? Oh, Jackie. Jackie.
This grim news brings Bangalore to tears, but there's no real way to confirm Jackson's death because the records were lost in a fire and apparently unclaimed bodies on Solace are buried in unmarked graves? Now, we know that Jackson is alive and well, competing as Newcastle in the Apex games, and I'm excited to explore his story, Bangalore, and the rest of the legends that I haven't covered yet in more videos. So if you haven't yet, subscribe and go watch another one.